Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to another episode of Philosopher's Notes TV. It's been a while. I'm excited to be back with a great book, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Peterson. 12 Rules for Life, subtitle, An Antidote to Chaos. Jordan B. Peterson, as you may know, is one of the world's leading intellectuals. He is a clinical psychologist and professor at the University of Toronto. Used to be at Harvard. Brilliant guy. His style reminds me of Yuval Noah Harari and Ray Dalio, two great thinkers we will be featuring soon. And this book is all about how we can shoulder more responsibility and give ourselves heroically to the world. It's phenomenal. We've got 5 big ideas we will take a look at, of course, Philosopher's Note, etc. Let's start with order and chaos. Why do we need rules? Because if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of chaos in the world. Peterson says throughout the book, rule number 1 of life is there's a lot of suffering. From Buddhism to Christianity to all the great wisdom traditions we learn, suffering is an inherent part of life. That chaos in life requires us to show up powerfully and counterbalance it with order. He uses, and then the rules that help us do that. He uses the symbol, the yin and yang symbol, to bring the point home. And quick overview here. Our yin and yang symbol has light and it has dark, right? So the light is symbolic of order in this take on it, and the dark is symbolic of chaos. Within the light, there's a little bit of dark. Within the dark, there's a little bit of light. Order and chaos are constantly flowing in our lives, and we want to become masters at essentially using that energy wisely and having, as Peterson says, 1 foot in order and then 1 foot in chaos. Constantly going from who we are to who we can become. And not getting swamped by the chaos, and also not getting stuck in a rigid sense of who we are today. In the note, I talk about Dan Siegel, and I liken it to his model that a healthy individual flows like a river of flexibility. So you can imagine a river of flexibility. On one side, the way Dan Siegel puts it is you have structure. On the other side, you have spontaneity, structure and spontaneity. If you flood one side too much, the structure turns into rigidity. If you go too far on the other side, the spontaneity turns into chaos. So again, same idea, order, chaos. It's always playing on itself. And we've talked about this a lot in the membership lately, but this idea of emotional stamina. The fact is, the more chaos you have in your life, the more of this darkness that you feel, the more you need to have order in your life. The more you need to establish a protocol, a set of rules that you know keep you in the game, keep you plugged in. My coach, Phil Stutz, calls that cultivating emotional stamina. The worse you feel, the harder life is, the more committed you are to your protocol. That's not easy to do, but it's absolutely essential. That's order and chaos. That's why rules are so important. And that's the basic essence of the book, is getting really good at dancing with that dynamic. So, having said that, rule number 1. What's rule number 1? Rule number 1 is to stand up straight with your shoulders back. Out of all the rules Peterson could come up with to help us optimize such that we can actualize our potential in service, in heroic service to the world, he constantly comes back to shoulder more responsibility. The life of meaning isn't one where you're trying to create happiness all the time. It's where you're committed to giving yourself to the world and shouldering more responsibility. Right? So rule number 1, he says, is stand up straight, shoulders back. And Peterson is an evolutionary psychologist, and he brings the point home with a story about lobsters. Right? So he tells us that lobsters are 350 million years old. 350 million years old. Nearly 500 million years lobsters have been around. To put it in perspective, dinosaurs have been around for 65 million years. They're like newcomers on the block relative to lobsters. And even then, over hundreds of millions of years, lobsters had what Peterson calls dominance hierarchies. There were more or less powerful lobsters. And one of the things, check out the book for the full in-depth overview of that. But what we want to know is powerful lobsters have better posture than weaker lobsters. And we want to be, and we need to be, and we need you to be powerful. We need you to have a sense of dominance in your environment. And the way to do that, one of the ways to do that, the easiest way to do that, rule number one on creating more order is to stand up straight, put your shoulders back, have good posture. That releases in lobsters and in us the serotonin that calms our nervous system, helps us deal with that chaos more effectively. So stand up straight, put your shoulders back, think about that more today. It's Amy Cuddy's presence, the power poses. In our work with the membership, the optimizers, we talk about imagining a thread through your head, pulling you up, lengthening and widening your spine, right? Eric Goodman, who is one of the leading biomechanic experts in the world, Chris Helmsworth, wrote the foreword to this guy's book, Eric Goodman's book. His number one tip is chest up, chin down. Chest up, chin down, or shoulders back, stand up straight, shoulders back. Get your posture right. Quit going through life hunched over. Be strong. Think, Peterson says, be inspired by a victorious lobster. Rule number two is to take care of yourself better. He makes the point that if you look at the data, imagine someone's not feeling well, right? They go to the doctor, they get prescribed medication, they actually think it's medication they should take. But so many people don't actually do it, whereas those same people, if they went to the veterinarian and their pet needed medication, they would do a better job at administering the medication to their pet than they do to themselves. It's a stunning thing when you think about it. And again, Professor Peterson walks us through some of the reasons why and the shame that we have and the lack of respect we have for ourselves. And he says you need to treat yourself, rule number two, as if you're taking care of yourself like you're taking care of someone for whom you're responsible, right? Treat yourself better than you treat your pet. And if you need to, imagine that you're taking care of someone you love when you take care of yourself. It's a super powerful, simple idea. That's rule number two. You're standing up straight, and then you're taking care of yourself as if you're taking care of yourself, taking care of someone for whom you're responsible. Remember that medication and pets, that's crazy. Rule number six is what? Rule number six, as we jump forward, is quit criticizing the world. It's really, really easy to criticize other people. It always has been, right? He says, quit doing that. Quit criticizing the world and quit thinking that you're going to save the world. Get on that as soon as your life, your house is in perfect order. He says, go take care of your own stuff. Make yourself perfect, right? And then you can talk about giving yourself to the world. Put your house in perfect order. And one of the tips here is he says you need to start stopping the things you do that you know aren't good for you. Start super small. Think about what you can do today such that at the end of the day today, you're a little bit better than you were at the beginning of the day. Can you do that? Can you find one little thing? Can you organize some papers on your desk? Or can you clean up the mess in that part of your room or in your kitchen or whatever? Can you make your life just a little bit more organized, a little more perfect today? Not absolutely perfect, but just a little bit more perfect today than it was at the beginning of the day. And then can you do that tomorrow? And can you do that the day after that? And the day after that? Get your house in order. Get your life in order. He says you do that day in and day out over 3 years, you won't even recognize who you are today. The power of compounding is real, he says. It's what we talk about all the time with our Optimize Plus ones. Little by little, you aggregate and compound these tiny little micro gains, and over an extended period of time, that's magic. So if you find yourself, and the next time you find yourself complaining or criticizing the world or someone in the world, look at yourself and think about what you can do to make yourself a little better. That's rule number six. And then our final big idea that we're going to talk about today is that being is becoming. Becoming is being. Peterson talks about being, this state of the world and this beautiful, ineffable power of the world that is this combination of order and chaos. Being, that we have this sense of being in the midst of this greater being. And he says that our ultimate being is only realized in a state of becoming. There's no such thing as a static Let me pull this out and just capture it in time. This little dynamic flow of order and chaos is constant. It's never ending. Our being is in our becoming. And when we recognize that, we want to get excited about being honest about where we are, what needs work, see our future, see what we're capable of doing, see our limitations, and then have fun closing that gap, realizing it's never going to be over. We're never going to reach that point of, okay, check the box, I'm done, and then we can celebrate that. Realize we're never going to be exonerated and get back to work. As part of that, he says, we realize rule number 4. Rule number 4 is quit comparing yourself to other people. You don't want to compare yourself to where other people are today. You want to compare yourself to where you were yesterday. So if the version of you today is better than the version of you yesterday, you're winning. End of discussion. Don't look outside yourself at what other people are doing. It's irrelevant. We want to focus on ourselves, get our own house in order, and know that if we do that over time, we're going to go to amazing places, and that our being is in our becoming. Again, we're never going to be exonerated. That is, again, as my coach says, that's the fundamental thing. This idea, fundamental problem, this idea that we should already be perfect. We should already have figured it out. The chaos should just go away once and for all. He says that idea of being exonerated from all future work is actually the most pernicious thing we can have floating through our minds. Let go of that. Get to work, moment to moment to moment. Your being is in your becoming. We are going to create perfect order in our lives. What little tiny thing can you do today to get just a little bit better? Quit criticizing. Get to work on making yourself a little better. Remember pets and the fact that most people take better care of their pets than they do themselves. What would your life look like, Peterson asks, if you actually took care of yourself? What could you do if you actually did the things that you know you could do to give yourself the energy and the vitality and the power that you could have? Think about that, then get to work on it. Remember, our lobsters, 350 million years. Lobsters have had serotonin going through their brains and little brains and little bodies. And the victorious, the most powerful among them, have the best posture. So stand up straight, shoulders back, get your posture going all day, every day. Stand and walk like the powerful person that you are. Give yourself to the world and master this process of order and chaos. And remember, the more challenges you have in your life, the more you need order, the more you need rules, the more you need algorithms, as we've been talking a lot about. And we'll talk about more as we get into some Yuval Noah Harari work in future PNTVs. Order and chaos. Mastering that dynamic is what it's all about. 12 rules for life. Highly recommend it. I'm excited to be back and sharing wisdom in this context again. Hope you enjoyed. What was the idea that jumped out and landed? How can you make it a more practical, applied, integrated part of your life today? Get on that and make today another awesome day. See you soon.
Okay, I have not read this book, but it sounds amazing. I think it is definitely going to go on my list. So welcome everybody to meet is online today. I see Tracy there, Mimi, everybody here. How's everybody doing? What'd you guys think of that?
Yeah, I liked it.
You like it? Yeah, it's good stuff. So I resonate a lot with the order and chaos part of it and the yin and yang. So I've been in martial arts my whole life. I'm a big proponent of Asian culture, and I totally just, all that stuff resonates with me. And the thing that really resonates with me is that I figured out order and chaos when I was in the military. And the weirdest time when it all clicked for me was when I became team leader of my squad. And it was totally by accident. I had no plans on doing it. So while you're in military boot camp, what happens is they take you through these exercises and they gradually grow you through these exercises to where you are in an exercise with live fire. They have real bullets, real bombs, all these things blowing up around you. Now, at the time, because I'm much younger, I didn't realize why they did this, because to me, it felt insane, because there's like hundreds of people on this battlefield and they have literally actual bombs going off around you. And I'm like, why would they do this to us? So you get put under intense pressure in the military. So when you actually do have intense pressure in real life, like you know how to respond to it. And so I didn't realize all that at the time, but it was basically called capture the flag. We had to go capture this flag before the other team got to capture the flag. And there was going to be live fire going over our head. There was going to be grenades blowing up. There's just all this craziness. And what happened is that we had a team leader and there was 10 of us. And we basically set out to capture the flag. Well, what I realized is he was going the wrong direction. And everybody was following this guy in the wrong direction. And I'm like, wait, stop. And nobody would listen to me. And I literally ran out in front of everybody, stopped them, got them to go in the right direction. And we ended up capturing the flag. But what happened is that they're like, okay, go. And the go was basically a large explosion, like about 50 feet away, which is like, if you've ever been into a concussion situation to where a bomb goes off, it's a very interesting feeling. But all this chaos erupted all at once. And what I realized is that I couldn't subject myself to following with the chaos. And what I think happened is everybody else, the team leader and the rest of the group, just kind of went along with the energy that was going along. I stopped and kind of like assessed everything while all this insanity was going on around me. And then I refocused. So I had the order around this chaos and I was able to put everybody on track to get where we need to go. And after it was all over, they were like, you know what, who put this team back on track? And I was like, drill sergeant. I did, drill sergeant. And they're like, you're now team leader. That's how it happened. And literally in front of everybody. And by the way, when you go back to the barracks, when something like that happens, not everybody's your friend. So I realized then, and over time, different things have happened. When I was a police officer, it was the same thing, is that when chaos and insanity is going on around you, sometimes you have to stop and just kind of evaluate the situation. Don't let the chaos that's, because this happens in transactions all the time. That's why I'm kind of bringing it back to this, is that you're going to get the buyer agent like freaking out and losing their mind. You're going to get other people freaking out and losing their mind, escrow about the appraisal. Like people are going to get upset because some people aren't professional and some people take things personal. And there's nothing in a transaction that should make people freak out. It is what it is, but it happens. And so what I learned is I can never expect the other person to keep their shit together. Excuse me if I'll swear, people don't like that. But you can't expect the other person to do it. So it has to be you. So the order in chaos is very interesting to me. And a lot of times what I try to do is when somebody says something to me that I don't like, I try to process it and take it in instead of reacting. We all, you guys have all heard of knee-jerk reactions, right? So knee-jerk reactions is something, somebody says something, you do something. That's them controlling you. That's the situation controlling you. No one can control you but you. So it's always good to basically take information in, evaluate it, and then react based on that, based on a calmer, cooler head, instead of just letting situations react. So that's what I liked about that part of it. Do not let the chaos dictate your life. Patience versus calm. The stand up, shoulder your responsibility. I've realized especially in real estate transactions, that you're going to get blamed for a lot of things that are not your fault. And a lot of people, like there's appraisals, there's escrow, there's homeless, there's all these different things that happen. And you may be like, why did you let that happen when you had nothing to do with it? One of the things that I've learned is taking on responsibility for everything and then working on solving the problems, which makes everybody else look like they're not very good at what they do and you are in control of everything. It's always hard, and every situation is a case-by-case situation. But taking responsibility, when he says you need to be powerful, the best way you can be powerful is with your mindset and how you think and what you think, and believing you can before you're even able to. Because you can. Just because you haven't done it yet doesn't mean anything. Did anybody else get anything out of that? I would be curious to hear your guys' feedback.
Be a lobster.
Huh?
Be a lobster.
Be a lobster. I like that. I like that. What else? What else?
And like you said, like you can do it. And don't give too much control to others.
Yep.
I agree with you, Pringle. If you do let somebody kind of like consume your energy too much, I mean, obviously, things, you're gonna have empathy, you can feel stuff, but you cannot let others control you. Like, projection is a real thing.
Yeah.
If you allow everybody to just, you won't have anything for you. So you have to like, no, and don't give that control away. As soon as you give it away, like you're being kind of ruled and you give off your will, Franco. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything is energy. So that's the thing, when I was in college, I learned that like everything is energy. Like this thing is made of the same things that I'm made up of. It's like these bonds are just tighter, that makes it harder and different color. Like everything is made up of the same stuff. So, you know, when you walk into a room and you're like, oh, the vibe is off, or the energy of like, you guys ever done that? Like you just, that's just the energy in the room, and that's put together by different things. You can affect those things. You have way more power and control than you even realize you do. And more often than not, people just go with the flow. That's where they come from. They go in the flow and they just kind of go along with everybody. Like, are you guys familiar with the protests that were happening over here? Like, half of those people don't even know why they were there, right? It's just they got caught up in the energy, they got caught up in and that happens all the time. And it's very easy to do that, but to realize, like, there's a book I read called Success Through Stillness. It's a great book. A guy that owned that, I think it was the guy that owned Def Jam Records, is the one that wrote it. Yeah, it's really good. He goes, so he's a big vegan. He doesn't eat animal meat, so he goes off on a little tangent in the book on that. So, like I used to say, ignore that part of it. But a lot of the principles and the things he talks about is super valid. And if you don't meditate, if you could figure out how to do some form of like meeting with yourself, calming yourself on a daily basis and like resetting yourself, that's super powerful. But everything has energy, and realizing that your mindset is probably your most important asset you have is super valuable. I thought that the pets, giving your pets medication, that was, who has pets? You have pets, what do you have?
It's true, sometimes they'll take care of, animals, but they need care as well, but you
Yeah.
have to have that same standard, if not even more when it comes to yourself.
Well, when you get on a
Take care of
plane,
yourself.
what are one of the things they say to you?
Save yourself.
You have to put your mask on first. So why do you put your mask on first? Like your son or your daughter or your friend is right there. Why wouldn't you help them first? Right. The best thing you can do to help other people is you can help yourself first. That's why I tell like people, like, take care of your health. If you want to be an example to your family, your kids, and your life and everybody around you, take care of your health first and then help everybody else. Because if you're trying to, like, there's people that are like, they're unhealthy and they have personal issues or whatever, because they're trying to help all of these other people first before they help themselves. So they let their lives go down the tubes. I mean, I'm sure we've seen it in movies. We've seen probably, maybe we know some people like that. And it's basically a codependent mindset, which is toxic, because you have to be there's nothing wrong with being selfish. There's been a lot of negative connotation with people like, oh, you're a selfish person, this and that. There's different forms of selfishness. There's nothing wrong with being selfish to take care of yourself first, to make sure you're good, because the best version of you is the best version that will be able to help everybody else at a higher level. And I think that's really super important. Now, I get the pet thing, because I have 2 dogs, and like when I eat steak, they eat steak, right? Like they're super pampered. So I totally get that, and the putting your mask on first thing. Stop criticizing the world. This is a hard one, because I have opinions and I have thoughts. But start with you. Stop what's not good for you. So did that resonate with anybody? Because I think we all do things that we like to do that may not be the best for us. And to get somewhere where you want to be, you're probably going to have to stop something you're doing now. You're going to have to say no to something you're doing now to say yes to something later that makes yourself better, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable. We talked about the power of compounding. You guys remember that? With a penny every day.
That's what I thought of when he said that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real thing, and you know, what I try to explain to people, if you can take 15 minutes out of a day and have a meeting with yourself. So you don't have to meditate, you don't have to sit in silence, whatever you want to do. But if you take 15 minutes out of the day and have a meeting with yourself to check in with yourself, how are you doing? How did your day go? What did you think of that? Have a little inner dialogue with yourself on like what's going on. And then realize where you're at today. The reason most people don't grow is because they don't realize where they're at to know where they're gonna go. Like, what did you do today? How did everything go today? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And then figure out, okay, what can I do tomorrow to be better, right? So one of the things that, just a personal note on my part, one of the things I do is I keep a log of my workouts. And I look at them every day. And when like my workout today is going to be like arms and shoulders. So I have the record of what I did last Friday. And I know what I did yesterday. And so what I try to do is I'm like, can I get a little bit better? Can I lift a little bit more weight? Can I get through it a little bit faster? Can I become a like small 1% better than I was yesterday? Like not a huge increment, because I know if I take that penny and I double that penny in 30 days, it's gonna be $5 million. And so that's what I try to do with myself. And don't get me wrong, it's hard. Because what was it on, was it Wednesday? It was Wednesday. I didn't go to the gym. Because instead of doing like 1% better on Tuesday, I went like 5 or 10% better. And I like wiped myself out. And I was like, I'm not going, no, I'm not, I'm tired. I can't go, right? And that's fine. Because being able to recover properly is a really important thing as well. So if I said, you know what, forget that, I'm gonna go anyways, then if I push myself more, there's a point in time where like certain body parts and certain things like start shutting down and like, then that becomes, you could injure yourself. So knowing when to recover is really important. But I learned something from pushing myself. And so I don't have to give 100%, I can give 50%, and it's okay. Stop comparing yourself to others. You know, I know so many people in the real estate industry, they see other agents and they're like, oh my God, that person's so successful or that person's so good. And I have agents all the time thinking that they should be somewhere where they're not. They should be more advanced or further along than where they're not. And everybody's different. Everybody's different. I know amazing agents that are making hundreds of millions of dollars. And I know agents that I'm not very fond of that I would probably call a bad name that are making hundreds of millions of dollars. Everybody's different. Everybody's path is different. Your path is going to be different than literally anybody else's. But you all have the capability of making $100 million or more in real estate, because this is what I always tell people. If anybody even looked like you in any way, shape, or form, then you can do it. And there's 8 billion people on the planet and nobody has an excuse. Maybe the 8 billion person in the bottom of the line, last in line on the planet, maybe that person does. But everybody else, we don't have an excuse. Your number one competitor is you. Because if you think there's people out there trying to stop you and get in your way and hamper your growth, that's not true. Most people are not out to get you. Most people are out for themselves. I get reminded of this so often because I'm a very ambitious person. I try to do so many things, so like businesses. I've owned so many businesses. I've done so many different things, and I've had my growth hampered. I've had people like try to sabotage me and do all these different things, and I've taken it personal in the past. And one of the things I realized is that I have to stop taking it personal because it's not about me. It's about them. They have made the decision to do something not to hurt me, but they're hurting me because they're trying to do something for themselves more than anything else. So when you realize that your decisions are for you and you are your competition and your mindset is the competition, that's when I think the game changes for a lot of people. You are your competition. You have to be better than you. And that's why I say have a meeting with yourself. Say, where are you? How are things going? What's going on? Are you mad? Are you sad? Like, try to remove yourself from who you are and have like don't become crazy on me and like, multiple personalities. But Who's read Think and Grow Rich? You Think and Grow Rich? Do you remember the part where he talked about having a board of directors? And then he would meet with like the board of directors in his head?
Yeah.
Honestly, when he started talking about it, I'm like, this dude is crazy. He's a psychopath. Like,
I did it though, and it really.
it makes sense.
It makes sense, especially when you have a board of directors, of people that have been there before.
Yeah,
That have done it, you can learn what worked, what didn't work, and then go from what didn't work, and then make it work.
yeah, yeah. So for everybody that didn't read the book on Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talked about creating a board of directors in your mind of all the people that you respect that are successful. And I think at one time he said he had like 12. Like, I don't know how he got so many people and figured that out. But it's just like he would put himself in that person's position and be that person, and he would be himself. And then he would just basically talk to himself to kind of work things out. And so what I did for myself, because man, that's just a lot of people to have in your head. So I just did it with myself. Like, I'm just talking to me, like, I'm talking to the 80-year-old me. I'm talking to the older, wiser me that's already been through the crap that I'm going through and that has already made it to the end. And I'm like, hey, what about this? And he's like, what do you mean? Get off your ass and go to work. Get off your ass and go to the gym. Like, he just, like, the older me is like a little, condescending and rude, because it's like, you already know. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, he's talking to me like I would talk to me if I was 80 years old. But it's just like, when I have that dialogue with myself, it puts things back into perspective. And it aligns me with what I need to do. That with the being calm part, I find that being calm actually is one of the most powerful things when it looks like it's not very powerful because you're not doing nothing. But it's like you're refocusing. Does that make sense?
Waters run deep.
Huh?
Still waters run deep, so if you stay still, you calm, you have to control. I think in this industry, you do need a level of, if you explode, it's no going back.
That's true.
So sometimes silence and stillness is very powerful.
Absolutely. And you have to realize you're in control. Like, you are in control of you and everything around you. And if you're in a situation or environment where you're not happy, then you're able to remove yourself. And we don't do that as people as much as we should. We remain in jobs too long. We remain in relationships too long. We remain in situations that do not serve us because, like, we think we can handle it, or we think we can fix it, or we think we can fix them, or we can, something will change, or I cannot. So this is the one thing, and nobody's allowed to leave the office when I tell you this, is that agents will be like, I'm so loyal to my office, because I'll try to recruit them. And like, I'm so loyal. I'm like, well, you're loyal, but like, what are they doing for you? Like, well, I don't want to get the image of like jumping around. I'm like, why not? Like, if something's not serving you, why would you stay? Because you're afraid of what everybody thinks about you leaving and going to different places? So you're caring about what all those people think. You're not caring about what serves you best in the moment to help your business grow. And so I just find that very interesting. What else do you guys think?
Well,
Yes.
I have kind of a personal story.
Yeah.
So yesterday was my first class, and this poster over here that you have,
Yeah.
actually it was covered by this white paper.
Uh-huh.
So I could only see the shark fin.
Okay.
So after class, I was just thinking, like, how am I gonna gain a shark mindset? I'm not a shark. Like, how am I gonna become a shark? And then I come in today and the poster's uncovered and it's a fish wearing a shark hat.
There you
So
go.
I'm like, oh, I don't have to become the shark. I just have to change my mindset. So that's just like a little positive story that I
That's
thought was
amazing.
cute.
I love that. That's amazing.
Get in shade a shark hat, some shark ears. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
need
need.
one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really good. That's really, anybody else got anything?
I'll go.
Yeah.
So on the, when you're dealing with personal emotion.
Yeah.
And when it comes to real estate, I've had it happen, I'm sure that Frank had it happen, where you're in escrow and chaos happens.
Yeah.
And they say, the other agent says to you, oh my God, how can you be so calm? Why aren't you? And they're just, literally going at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've said this a million times to that agent, I said, you know why you're like that? Because your buyer is like that.
Yeah.
And you're acting like your buyer, and that's why you have chaos. If you could just tone it back a little bit, it's a solvable problem. But it's not a solvable problem when you're yelling and screaming and not thinking rational. So absolutely correct. You might not know all the answers, but you need to control your client, and your client will mirror match you. If you're going ballistic and freaking out, you can almost guarantee that that client is going to be just like you, or vice versa. So you've got to make sure that you watch that. And then the other thing at the beginning, the video, when he was saying, kind of almost a 1% better, you know, just get a little bit better every day. But he was talking about your desk.
Yeah.
There, I'm gonna freak you guys out because this is, I don't know if you've heard this, but if you're right-handed, I want you to imagine your desk right now. If you're right-handed,
I'm gonna be mad at you. but-
yeah,
Yes, I
you're
know.
gonna be very mad at me. If you're right-handed, the left side pile is a problem. Right? That's the pile that keeps piling up. And vice versa. So and ever since I heard this, because my pile, no joke, was here, and there was stuff in there that was unnecessary. There was stuff in there that was super important. There was stuff in there that's like, okay, I can probably make a file for this, you know? And so every day, if that file gets, or that side of my desk gets over like a half an inch, I freak out because I know, like, it creates chaos. So every day when you come, it's just very nice. So just remember that when you go back to your desk, you're like, dang, she was right. I learned that exercise a while back, so I just wanted to share that. I thought that was, it's just so true. So don't be mad at me. Okay, go clean up your office.
It's I go this. No, but you're absolutely correct. That's good stuff. Anybody else have anything? Thoughts, questions?
One more question.
Yes.
As far as we know, stillness and calmness is where we want to be. Any advice on dealing with people when they may feel because you are calm and still that you don't care about how they are feeling?
What was the question
Like
again?
advice on dealing with maybe clients or potential clients that may feel your calmness, like you don't care how they feel. When we're being calm, it's not that we're ignoring but we have to maintain that, to have order in the transaction. But sometimes people
And
can
you're saying maybe
it comes off
the
like
perception is that you
don't
you
care.
don't care.
Yeah.
And that just comes with being able to ask them qualifying questions. So they feel validated and interested, that you do that in a calming sense, then you won't have that problem. You know, so because calm doesn't mean that you're just ignoring and like, hey, calm could mean you're processing. But at the same time, if you're in front of the client dealing with, you know, a situation where it's uncomfortable and you feel that negative energy, you know, and for your new age, we haven't met yet, so I'll get to you after the meeting. Because I think we'll probably end up a little bit early, right? Frank, we're kind of, okay. Is that, you know, when you're new, you can have that nervous negative energy, and that might come in as them thinking you're calm and you're really just kind of frozen with nervousness, right? Which happens. So you need to know, especially here at this office, when you're new, you never have to worry about it because you have Frank and I. And so if your answer is always, you know what, Mr. Buyer, you know what, Mr. Seller, that is a great question. And I have the experts in my office that can answer that. So give me a few minutes, or, you know, can I get back to you tomorrow or whatever it is? And I'll get you the best answer for that question. So you never have to worry about that, because that's one of agents' biggest fears is like, I don't know this. What if they ask me that? How do I handle the objection? You know, I know I've learned this, but now I forgot it. Shit, you know? You know, which, I mean, it still happens to us, but, I think that you just, by engaging them with questions and really understanding how they feel about the situation, because that's just being a great salesperson. That's just being a great communicator, is being able, because that might be just the opposite. Well, why are they so calm? Are they mad at me? Right? That's the first thing I would think. You know, they're angry at me when they're not. They're just processing. So I don't know. I went way overboard on that
Thank
question.
So,
Thank
no,
you.
so if you,
Very helpful.
before she answered
Thank you.
that, I wrote down communication. So almost every problem in the world, at some point, we can probably trace back to communication. Either inaccurate communication or lack of communication, but it comes out of communication. What Tammy said was absolutely correct. When somebody gets mad and they start getting mad about whatever they're getting mad about, we assume that they're mad about what they're getting mad about. That's us assuming. We don't know. What does assuming stand for? Your lips sticking about, you want to
I
say,
don't know.
it makes an ass out
That's
of
how
you
we
and me
feel.
both. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
So-
God.
The best thing to do when somebody gets mad is that, first of all, they want to be acknowledged, right? And so depending on what they're getting mad about, clarify what they're mad about. And like, listen to them and say, okay, I hear what you're saying. What are you mad about? Just ask them. Depending on, I mean, and every situation is gonna be different, but just ask them questions. What Tammy was saying is like, if you ask enough questions, you're gonna figure out what the root of the problem is. And you're gonna solve the problem about them thinking you don't care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be asking questions. And so you can take this and do it with your spouse, you can do it with your friends, you can do it with everybody you know. If somebody's getting mad, you start asking them questions instead of just assuming. And then when you say something, don't tell them.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's like blah, 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 I say, well, why do you feel that way? When you say the word feel, that changes everything.
Right, and
Because-
on the whole is, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah.
on the, you know, my brain only works like immediately. Don't forget, on the whole, you know, assumption thing too. A lot of times, we will, come in with a solution or an answer. Let's just say it's request for repairs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've been doing this over 30 years, so I'm just like, look, this is what we're gonna do. Blah, blah, blah. And the buyer has a totally different idea. They're like, no, I want this, this, and this, or they don't even care. But I made the mistake because I'm coming in as a professional, right? And I could have, you know, ruined the deal for me. I've done that, you know, early on in my career because I'm like, well, we're just gonna go after, you know, everything. So the questions are what will make you a superstar agent.
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
really just bottom line. You're gonna learn the skills and what to do, and you'll gain your confidence, but you still have to really understand those engaging questions. And when you assume, you lose. That's another way to say it.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. And when somebody gets angry, asking them questions will help solve the problem. And something that I learned is that sometimes when they're angry about something, it's not what you think it is. It's something that has nothing to do with them. It came from someplace different. Like they had a bad day at work. They almost got into a car accident, or just their energy is off, or something that has nothing to do with it. It just comes out at that point. And if you're calm and you ask questions and you put yourself in front of it like that, you'll find them coming back and apologizing, to be like, hey, I'm really sorry that I did that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure we've probably seen that in our life and where that happens. So it's very, very important to not react to somebody else's energy and to take that and decide what you want to do with it. Like, do I want to jump in the angry boat with this person? So like now on a different note, if you're in a customer service situation and somebody comes at you mad, there's a rule that Alex Hormozy talked about. And he talks about there's only one person can be in the angry boat. So if somebody comes to you, like in a customer service perspective, and they're like, I can't believe that you did this and da 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 da, and you'd be like, you're absolutely right, you're completely right, I am wrong, I shouldn't have done that, da da da. Then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, no problem, I get it, right? You know, if you take it over the top and you agree with them, you say, listen, I'm completely wrong, you're absolutely right, and, or if you can figure out a way to do that, what that does is that takes away their power, because there's nothing for them to be angry about. You're already in, you jumped in the angry boat, that means they have to get out. And the thing with emotions, you have to fix, so these are all tools that you put in your toolbox, and then when a situation comes up, you have to figure out what's gonna be best. But the beginning is like, you have to evaluate the situation and not take on what they're doing, but assess, what tool do I need to use in this situation that's gonna best serve me? Do I need to jump in the angry boat with them? Or do I need to start asking them questions and calm them down? What is the best course of action for this? You know, and I've seen this happen with, like, in retail situations, to where, you know, a customer service person is arguing with a client, and then the manager comes in and says, excuse me, I'll take over this. And the manager is like, you're absolutely right, ma'am. And she gets mad at you. You shouldn't have been treated this way. You should have been da da da. And then the person immediately calms down. So it all depends. It's all a different situation, but the thing I think everybody should take away from this is that the other person's emotions is theirs. It's not yours. You get to choose and control the emotions that you use and how you use them, and they should be all used for good, which is like, how do you solve the situation at hand? Because not everybody has this type of training or this type of knowledge. And some people just walk around the world just reacting to stuff all day. And we can probably think of those people in our minds right now, like, who just gets mad about everything and upset about everything. I've had agents like this, and I've had to let them go. I'm just like, you can't just come in and get mad about everything all the time. Like, that doesn't work for anybody, you know?
Except him.
Hey, right? Except them. But I mean, if you look at people that are massively successful, are they reactive people or are they calm people? Mostly calm. And it's like, if you look at people that are massively successful, like, there's a lot of things in common, like they have a calm demeanor, they think things through, they're not overweight, there's like all these little things that make somebody massively successful. And what it comes down to is mindset and being able to control everything that comes in and goes out of their mind in their life. And they just think about it differently. You know, I mean, you have outliers, of course, but for the most part, like, even if you take some of the brilliant minds that we have today, like, you know, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Bezos and all these guys, like, you don't see them going like emotionally crazy out there in the world, right? So, you know, we'll end with this. I've learned over time, I believe the number one superpower that you can have, if you could ever have a superpower, is controlling your emotions. Just trust me, I'm half Irish and half Italian. Like, I have two settings. I have low and I have high. Ask my wife, right? Like when I go past that medium point and it goes like, bam, it just slams to the right. And like, sometimes I get upset and it's not okay. So I've learned that controlling your emotions is like a really, really powerful thing to do. Your outward control of emotions is one thing, but the thing you should also control is inside. Because we as people, we can tear ourselves up inside. And I say this all the time, you know, the number one person that talks to you more than anybody else on this planet is you. And if you're not saying nice things to yourself, you know, that will come out. Like, if you're saying bad things about yourself all the time inside your head, that's going to come out into the world at some point in some way that's not going to benefit you. So you just can't say bad things about yourself. You're an amazing person. We're all amazing people. We have to say positive things to ourselves. So anybody else before we wrap this thing up? How was this? Was this good? This is a better one than we've had in a long time. I like it. Anybody on Zoom got anything? All right, let's play the last video and get out of here and go have a Father's Day.
Is today Father's Day?
Sunday.
When a lion is born, it's not a lion. When a lion is born, it's a cub. Do you know what makes it look the way it looks? How does a lion look like that, but a giraffe don't look like that? He's chasing the food. So it is the process of hunting. It's not the actual meat that make him look like that. It is the actual hunt. It's the actual chasing. So whether he catch it or not, every time he goes on the hunt, he's developing. Some of y'all so caught up on the game that you don't get it. It is in practicing. It is in lifting weights. It is in resting. It is in eating right. It is in making good decisions that you look a certain way. It is how you practice. It is what you do that makes you look like you look. It is the process of the grind that shapes you and forms you. It's not the game. And that's why most of y'all get beat in the game or make mistakes in the game, because you think grinding is what happens when the sun comes out. You think grinding is what happens when the lights come on. You think grinding is what happens when people get in the stage. That's not grind. The real grind is in the dark when nobody sees you, when nobody knows what you're doing, when you studying without coach, when you putting in those extra reps, when you watching those videos and you getting inspired, when you change your music. It's the process that makes you sweet.
You know how you get mentally tough? It's a lifestyle. Instead of hitting that fucking snooze button in the fucking morning and not making your bed, not cleaning your house, you don't hit the snooze button. You get up. You don't want to go run, you go run. You don't want to go swim, you go swim. You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed. You don't want to clean your house, you clean your house. You don't want to study, you fucking study. That's how you start to callous your mind. It's going to suck. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow. Embrace the suck. No one's going to fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. The water's too cold. The sun's too hot. I'm getting up too early. Why am I doing this to myself? That's what the normal mind says. I had to start training my mind to think about how the can I get through this? Not giving myself a way out. Creating a wall around all the fucking ways out in my mind. So my mind knew this motherfucker is not gonna give himself a way out of here. My new norm is you get up every fucking morning at 4 o'clock and you suffer. That became my new fucking life. Most people want to get out of it. I said, no, motherfucker, this is your new life. This is who you are. Your new norm is you wake up and you suffer. And I started realizing if that's my mentality, this ain't hard anymore. You must retrain your mind to think differently in health.
When something sucks, good. It's gonna make me tougher and it's gonna make us stronger. So bring it.
And that's when your mind changes. That's when your focus changes. Your dedication changes. Use this time to gain strength, gain focus, come out a savage. You gotta start thinking, I'm the greediest motherfucker in the world. You don't need you need the ability to fucking grind your ass into a fine fucking powder. Greatness is not something that you meet once. It's something that you meet thousands of fucking times in your life, and you don't reach it if you're not constantly in constant fucking pursuit of greatness.
Kobe Bryant doesn't sit there and talk about how many MVPs he's won or how many championships he's won. No, he's up at 3 o'clock in the morning practicing every day. Why do you think he is so great? He's not great because he's great. He's great because he puts the work in on a daily basis and he wins every day.
This is the time to work. You better take the short time you have and be the best that you can be, because they pay you different when you're the best.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you so much.